Hey, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight to have with us today Jesse Winton. He is the director of a new movie called Targeted, exposing the gun control agenda. And we ran the trailer earlier. We may play it again here in just a few moments, but we wanted to talk to Jesse about his movie. Hi, Jesse. Good to see you. Where are you?
I am currently in the Sacramento, California area.
Sacramento, California, my old home stomping grounds. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Nice to see you. Hey, so why'd you take this on? What got you going on this?
Well, you know, it's actually kind of an interesting story. When I first was getting into filmmaking, I worked on a documentary that a friend of mine was producing on a different political issue, on environmentalism. And at the time, I wasn't really all that politically savvy or politically interested, but working on that project really got me interested in politics and kind of following the issues of the day. And so when I was looking for my own project to continue my film career working on, this was an issue. Gun control was an issue that was regularly in the news. It was regularly being discussed. And I did a little bit of research into it and realized how important it was fundamentally to who we are as Americans. And so when we decided to make a new project, this was the one that we went with.
Were you surprised by your own research?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know, this isn't a film where I went in with kind of all the opinions or knowing exactly what I was going to find. There was a lot of surprises for me along the way, a lot of research that I did, a lot of information that I learned. This was really a learning experience for me, just as much as it was an opportunity to make another film project. Yes, absolutely.
You're thinking in any way?
I wouldn't say that it changed my thinking in any way. I think that what it did is it gave me a new understanding of the importance of this issue, or a more refined understanding of the importance of the issue. You know, you look through the writings of the founders of the United States, and you see the importance of gun ownership to them in the context of remaining free, the ability to be able to defend yourself governments and from tyranny that can kind of creep into government, and so, you know, that aspect of it, seeing how important this is to who we are as Americans, that's really what I learned through the film. That's how my thinking was more refined, if you will. But I wouldn't say it was changed inherently, but it definitely was refined, and there was a lot of new information that I gleaned from it.
All right. The movie is called Targeted. Where can they get this, Jesse?
Yeah, well, we're going to be in theaters for one night on September 29th. And I believe it's at 7 o'clock is when the film actually shows. And you can find more information about that at targetedthemovie.com. Buy tickets there. It's also going to be releasing, obviously, on home video, DVD, Blu-ray, at some point in the very near future after the release is up.
Okay. All right, so when you begin to look into this, did you see a systematic agenda or movement to go after guns?
Yes, absolutely. You look especially at the historical precedent that has been set with gun control in the past with places like Nazi Germany, Lenin in Russia, and you can see that there is a historical precedent for more control and that agenda beginning with gun restrictions. And it's interesting, in one of the very early interviews that we did in the film that didn't actually end up making it into the film, but was kind of in the beginning research phase that we worked on, we talked with David Keene, who is the former president of the National Rifle Association, and he brought up a really interesting point that I hadn't really considered before, which is, if you think about the Battle of Lexington and Concord, which was the first battle of the American War for Independence, the reason that the British Army was coming to Lexington and Concord was to confiscate the stores of weapons and ammunition that the colonists had at Lexington and Concord. And so what that does is that lends credence to the idea that tyrannies or governments that are pushing for more tyranny understand the fundamental need to disarm the people that they are trying to tyrannize. That's what the British Army was doing. They were coming to Lexington and Concord to take away those guns and ammunition because they knew fundamentally that they had to be able to disarm these people in order to be able to defend them. That's one of the key points of the film, is the importance of gun ownership and the importance of being able to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government.
Isn't it amazing that the Second Amendment's intent was to protect us from exactly what's happening today in America as it relates to guns?
Yeah, absolutely. The founders, like I said, they really understood how important that was. And Jefferson even talks, and lots of the founders did, but Jefferson specifically talked about the importance of mistrusting the government. You know, that we need to constantly be questioning the people that are given power and are given authority, because if we don't, there's a very good likelihood that that power will be abused. And so fundamentally, this issue is incredibly important to the fabric of who we are as Americans, and that's really what we try and talk about in the film.
How did you come away with the meaning of militia after this study and research?
Yeah, well, we talked with Randy Barnett, who's a constitutional law professor at Georgetown University, specifically about this issue, as well as Mike Winther, who's the head of the Institute for Principal Studies down in the Modesto, California area. And we really dove into this idea that when the Constitution was written, they wrote militia. Militia was the people. Militia was the individual. So militia is made up of individual citizens. And so if you understand the militia to be made up of individual citizens, then there's a real understanding that the right to keep and bear arms is guaranteed to individuals. And this is something that was talked about in the Heller decision in the Supreme Court. And so there's a lot of misinformation, I think, that is pumped out into the American culture that really lends itself towards having a flawed understanding of the original intent of the Second Amendment as being something that was a guarantee for the individual rights of the citizens.
Wow. We're talking to Jesse Winton. He is the director of a new movie entitled Targeted, and you can go to Targeted the movie. It's going to be coming to some theaters on September 29th, so keep your eye open for that. Before we take a break, isn't it interesting that the more that the gun issue is attacked, the more gun sales occur? And every time this issue comes up, and the Democrats, I'll just be political for a moment, the Democrats run on a gun agenda, they lose. So somewhere in the overall electorate of America, they're well educated on the Second Amendment, and they don't want to lose that privilege and that right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very fundamental to who we are as Americans. There's a very deep understanding of our roots in freedom, our foundation in freedom. And that's something we really go into in the film as well. Kind of the main point of the film is that this issue, while we're talking about a specific aspect of freedom with gun ownership, overall, this issue really comes back down to freedom. This is a piece of a puzzle of continual government overreach, continual government, the abuse of governmental power. And so while this is one of the fundamental issues of freedom in America, this is a piece of a larger puzzle. This is symptomatic of where we are sliding to and what we are becoming in America, which is more and more tyrannized. And we talk about in the film that we really need to be defending that.
All right, let me take a break. We'll come back, and when we do, we'll air the trailer of the film. And again, it's called Targeted. You can go to Targeted the movie and check it out there. And it's exposing the gun control agenda. Our guest today, Jesse Winton. We'll be right back.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
Welcome back to Focus Today, and delighted to have with us today Jesse Winton. He is the director of a movie that's out now called Targeted. It's going to, I say it's out. It's going to be out September 29th in selected theaters across the country. And you can go to Targeted, the movie, the website there, and check it out. It's exposing the gun control agenda. Jesse, it's been said that as a cultural moves more to a socialistic culture, that the government has to get control of several things: healthcare, the media, education, and guns. You think that's true?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, fundamentally, I think it begins with gun control. And we've seen, again, throughout history, there's been a precedent set towards disarming people, as disarming people being the kind of the first step towards more tyranny. And I believe it was Mao Zedong said that all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. People that are pushing for more tyrannical governments really understand fundamentally how important it is that they be able to control the people, and that they don't have as much control as they feel they need when the people are armed, because they're able to defend themselves from tyranny. And that was the historical precedent that was set through the War for Independence. We, as an armed population, as armed citizenry, the colonists were able to defend themselves from, at the time, the biggest army in the world, the most powerful army in the world, but they were able to defend themselves from a huge push for more tyranny and for slavery to the government because they were armed. That's how we were able to win the War for Independence, was being armed.
This has been part of the political debate and the campaign cycle this go around. I haven't heard much about it lately, but we do know there's a significant difference that the Clinton campaign certainly wants more gun control, and the Trump campaign has even gone as far as announced his membership in the NRA. Where do you think this is in the electorate for this coming cycle?
You know, I think that there's a lot of issues that are going to be really important in this. Obviously, the economy is going to be a huge issue, and I'm not really, obviously, geared up to address the economy. That's not really my issue. But I think that people are really concerned in the electorate about where our country's headed. As you mentioned, a more socialistic shift. And we see this continual erosion of freedom and erosion of who we are as Americans. We're becoming more socialistic. I mean, obviously, the popularity of Bernie Sanders was a huge piece of that, kind of showing us where we sit as a country. So I think that gun control is always going to be an important issue to conservatives, to Republicans, to libertarians. It's always going to be an important issue to people. And I don't think it's ever going to lose its importance in the electorate, in the electoral cycle. I think it's always going to be one of the big issues that people are really concerned about, again, because they understand the importance of it to who we are as Americans. It runs in our veins as American citizens. We have an understanding of it. That's really what we address in the film, is how culturally ingrained it is that we be free, and how important this right is to maintaining that freedom.
All right, before we show the trailer, what do you want people to get from this film? What do you want them to walk away with?
I want them to walk away with a couple things. One is we want to start a dialogue. We want to start a discussion. I think that there's somewhat of a propensity these days towards not being willing to listen to the other side, listen to other people's opinions. And, you know, myself as a millennial, you know, there's somewhat of, I think, a stigma that's placed on millennials to, you know, we've become defined by safe spaces, and we've become defined by these kind of ideas that are boxed in by the cultural mindsets that have been set for us. And again, myself as a millennial, I just want to address to other millennials that are out there that we need to be more than safe spaces. We need to be willing to engage with people with other opinions, with other mindsets, and to be able to think outside of that box and not draw someone else's conclusions. So that's one thing. We definitely want to start a dialogue. I want to start a dialogue among millennials to come to your own conclusion on issues like this, study the issue, research it, and you know, have a good opinion on it and be able to defend that opinion. Number three, we really want people to again understand how fundamental this right is, how important it is to who we are as Americans, and you know, not fear mongering. That's not what we're looking to do. We're not looking to have people running out of the theater saying, if our guns are taken away, we're all going to be put in concentration camps. That's not the idea here. But the idea is that we are fundamentally seeing our freedoms eroded. This is a big issue. This is an important issue, gun control, and we want to see people really engage with the reality of what we're seeing and the constant decline and erosion of freedom that we're seeing in America. That's really what we want to do with Targeted. Those are definitely a couple of the key points.
Well, good for you, and thank you for that kind of a dialogue that you're trying to open up, not only among your own generation, but overall in America. Let me take a few moments here. Those listening on radio, we're going to play the video trailer of the movie. I'm sure you'll be able to get a lot out of it, but the movie's entitled Targeted, so here's the trailer.
There is no such thing as gun control. There's only people control.
Government after government who infringes people's liberty and their rights, one of the first steps is they either register or confiscate guns.
They want power over everything we got. And it doesn't make sense to me unless there is a master plan to shift this country into socialism.
The sight today of a mass shooting.
Evil's in our hearts, not in the guns.
All of us as Americans should be troubled by these shootings.
President Obama says he will use much of his final year in the White House pushing for gun control.
If you can take a person's firearm away, you can take anything away from him.
Why did the government do this?
There is now outrage, some calling it overreach. Guns are not the real problem. It's people who have an intent to kill who are the real problem.
The right to possess a firearm does not come from the government. The amendment is a restriction on government.
For more than 200 years, America has been a nation built on freedom. But as I look at where our country is headed today, I believe that the government has an agenda to take away our freedoms and that they're beginning to do it with gun control. So I set out on a journey to uncover the gun control agenda in America.
It is amazing how quickly the pages are turning toward government control.
The founding fathers distrusted unbridled power.
Everything that is happening is exactly what they were worried would happen.
I think the astounding thing is that we have any freedoms left.
Their goal is to get, keep, and expand power.
We're just good-hearted, red-blooded Americans. It's not fair to us.
As soon as you decide what the people can own and what they can't own, you're handing the control over to somebody else. And let's look at who that is. It's always the government.
Why is the Second Amendment such an important aspect of freedom?
Because we've seen it work. If we don't stand up against tyranny, we won't have freedom.
Wow, that's the trailer to the movie entitled Targeted, and it's exposing the gun control agenda. It will be in some theaters on September 29th, and I guess they can go to targetedthemovie.com, Jesse, to see where it's going to play?
Yes.
Okay.
Targetedthemovie.com. We're also on Facebook as well.
Facebook as well, and you'll be able to see. By the way, just what I saw there on the trailer, your production value is through the roof. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's extremely good. All right, so let me ask you a couple questions. Are you concerned, given the atmosphere and the election cycle and a lame duck presidency, that President Obama will walk out of the Oval Office and before he turns the light out, he'll do something major about gun control?
I don't really know. I think that there's definitely, maybe cause to discuss that and to open the dialogue on that. I'm not really sure what his intentions are when he leaves office. I know we've seen continual abuse of presidential power through President Obama with, executive orders and this mindset that he seems to have that if Congress doesn't do what he wants, he can talk about it at the State of the Union address. And then if they still don't do what he wants, he can push through an executive order and get it done. It's very much of a mindset of monarchy rather than presidency. So right. I don't know exactly what his agenda is or what his goal is when he leaves office. I wouldn't say I'm particularly concerned about something huge with gun control happening before he leaves office, but I could be very wrong on that. I don't know what his intentions are.
Isn't it interesting that concealed gun permits have skyrocketed in this country and in various states? I know here in Oregon and elsewhere. And a large percentage of those concealed permits are being issued to women. What does that tell you?
Tells me that people really understand that guns are an equalizer. You know, guns put people on the same plane. When there's a 200-pound man attacking a 120-pound woman, any woman that has a gun, she's instantaneously on the same plane as this man, because she's able to defend herself in what is the most effective way to defend yourself in our society, in our culture today. I think that the rise in concealed carry permits in general is very indicative of the understanding that we have that the ability to defend yourself from criminals, self-defense is important, and that it's an effective way to keep yourself safe. I mean, there's Bureau of Department of Justice statistics that show that there's, I believe it's almost at least 6,000 privately owned firearms are used every day to defend life. You know, people get it, people know it, people understand that that's what keeps us safe. It's an incredibly effective way to defend ourselves.
All right, taking the defense issue out of the argument just for a moment, because that is the overall purpose of owning a gun is for self-defense, and that of a tyrannical government as well. But what we've seen in America lately is somewhat of a copycat thing, where we've had some mass shootings, and it goes to, well, everybody's got to be disarmed. And what really falls through the cracks here is mental health. You got mentally disturbed people with guns in their hands doing horrific things, and you don't hear that as part of the argument. You still see it as a gun control. Is that correct?
Yeah, I definitely think that everybody pushes for the most simplistic solution possible. I think people really want to find kind of the one track that they can take to fix this issue. I think there's a lot of issues at play here. Fundamentally, we're dealing with a cultural issue as well, and we address this in the film, this idea that there's a culture of violence that we have in America that seems to be unique to America. You know, we don't see the level of mass shootings that we have in America in other developed nations. And so it really gets to the heart of what is our issue. You know, we have a cultural problem that we need to address that I don't think that we're addressing as fully as we should be. There's a lot of issues at play, and simply disarming people is not an effective solution. It's very simple. It seems to be one that's regularly pushed for, but it's not really effective in the long term because it doesn't address all the issues that are at play. It addresses just the one that seems on the surface to be the most effective.
Well, Jesse, congratulations on your work, and I trust that your documentary here will be used effectively across the country, not only with generations, but just overall on what there's been to, obviously, an agenda to remove guns from society and to abolish the Second Amendment. Let me encourage you to check it out. It's called Targeted, and you can go targetedthemovie.com and find out where it's going to be released in your area starting September 29th, and then also get the information maybe where you can get the DVD copy when that becomes available. Jesse, thank you, my friend. Good to see you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. It was great to be here.
All right, talk to you soon again. All right, we'll be right back.